And welcome back to another episode of Knights of the Podcast presented by Take 3 Productions. I am your host, Chris Skywalker Dohmen, and we're here to talk about the greatest series of all time, Voltron. Defenders of the Earth. Obviously. No, I'm kidding. Of course, we're here to talk about Star Wars, the greatest franchise, and the greatest sci-fi story ever told. With me tonight on the council, I've got Matt Kearns, Matt Rendar. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Ready to talk more Star Wars.
I was about to say, is that ever a bad thing, though?
No, it's not. No.
Yeah,
Nope.
That's what I thought. Now, so if you look to my left, you'll notice someone new on this show, and you've seen him around the channel, but this is his first time on Knights of the Podcast. Malachor Lay. Dude, what's up?
Not much. I'm just ready to talk about Captain Kirk being in Episode 9, so... Oh, right, wrong Captain.
All right. Oh, that was good. That was good. Now, so...
Someone's not going to like that joke when they hear it.
Whatever. But
we need a name for Malcolm.
We do need a name for Malcolm, because a lot, that's kind of our gimmick is, we always have fake names for everything we do. Now, Malcolm, I have a question for you. Are you familiar with the Old Republic era? If I go for a kind of a weird, obscure nickname.
I'm relatively familiar with it.
Okay, so I was thinking Malachor Lay.
That works.
Awesome.
I do understand that reference.
Awesome.
I understood that reference.
Wrong franchise. Take a shot.
Wrong captain as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. This is going to be a long episode, but I can't wait for it. All right, let's get started with movie news. First little bit here comes from Variety, where The Last Jedi has now crossed $1 billion at the worldwide box office, but it actually stumbled a little bit in China, with its opening weekend only being about $28.9 million, which is actually half of what Rogue One did, coming in with $59.6 million its opening weekend. But to be fair, when Rogue One opened, you had two of China's biggest stars in Zhang Wen and Donnie Yen. But is that really what made the difference? Matt, I want to get your thoughts on that real quick.
No, it's not actually. Last semester in my college class, I actually did a whole article on Diane and Zhang Wen did not help Rogue One's box office at all. So yeah,
Here,
no, it didn't.
Domestically.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
But again,
even in China, it didn't really. A lot of critics sort of, they told audiences that they're not exactly the main characters like they're telling you they are. They kind of get pushed to the side for two other people, and a lot of audiences spoke with their wallets, sadly.
Well, and to be fair, Rogue One still made a crap ton of money, but...
Oh, yeah.
And to be fair, Last Jedi obviously already overshadowed Rogue One by quite a lot. But, Malcolm, first off, what are your thoughts on Last Jedi crossing the $1 billion mark now, I believe, at $1.3 billion, as it was reported in today's Box Office Mojo. I just checked today. It's going to stay at 1.3. And do you think that the reason it's not doing so well in China is because it doesn't have any well-established Chinese stars in it?
Well, I mean, it's no surprise it was going to cross $1 billion because, I mean, it's Star Wars. It's always bound to cross $1 billion, especially with the way it opened. I mean, I don't think that the Chinese box office, because there was no Chinese stars, I think a lot of the reviews, the mixed reviews and stuff, would have made their way to China, and that may have had the impact on it as well. So.
Actually, yeah, that's a fair point. Now, because it is sadly getting mixed reviews from the audience people. Well, that depends on if you believe there isn't a little behind the scenes tinkering going on. But Matt, actually, I want to follow up on that. Like, do you think that because they made mixed reviews, it's not doing as hot overseas as it has still been doing over here?
Well, yes and no. Star Wars, for as big as an international franchise that is actually in China, again, going back to research I did for a whole article last semester, Star Wars is not actually a big franchise to Chinese audiences. It's not something that's in their lexicon. They know it, but it's not like it is here in America or in a lot of places in Europe. And I think that combined with these mixed reviews does not help someone go, I need to go and rush out to see this movie.
No, you know what? Okay, that's actually a really fair point. It's kind of interesting because you keep, because again, let's rewind the clock 2 years. We were all talking about how The Force Awakens is just crushing at the box office, over $2 billion worldwide. But then, and we expected a similar return, and we're going to get a similar return for Last Jedi.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I still have it topping out at roughly, I don't know, give or take a couple hundred, maybe 1.8 billion, 1.7, something like that.
Around there.
More than enough to make up for what's going to happen in May, but but still sticking with The Last Jedi here for a second. So there was an early edition of the soundtrack that was released around the time the film came out, but now that it's been almost a month, the full soundtrack has now been released and is available for public consumption. And why, Matt, I believe I see you have it.
Yes, I do. I own it. And this is the Target exclusive. If you have Target, you get these 2 collectible cards. What am I going to do with them? I don't know, but I'm a Star Wars fan. It said collectible on it. Yeah, this soundtrack is great. I am still that crazy person who buys his film soundtracks, physical copy. But I sat down and I listened to it, and it is, especially when you get to the Battle of Crate, just on its own. It's so good. And then all the battle with are we able to talk Last Jedi spoilers?
Okay, the movie's been out for a month, people. Spoilers. Here's a little thing to say. Spoiler alert.
The battle between Kylo and Luke, just on its own, and this is the thing I love about John Williams, is why he is and probably will always be my favorite film composer. Is and I was telling these guys this actually when I was listening to it. I was like messaging them, and I was like, I got to the part in the Battle of Crate when it's Poe, when they're first riding those speeders, and his foot goes through the thing. It's like, whoa! I knew that moment from the music, and the moment when Luke says, "See you around, kid." I knew where that moment was just in the music. I mean, that's the amazing thing that John Williams has done with the Star Wars soundtrack. Is he's got some non-human thing where he's able to just watch a movie with no soundtrack to it and is able to make these musical moments that I've seen the movie. You know what? I'll show it. Bad Star Wars fan. I've seen the movie once, and I'm still, through this soundtrack, able to pick out moments from the film after seeing it once, because it is that good of a soundtrack. So everyone, if you don't want to buy it physical, buy it digital. Just listen to it on its own. It is fantastic. Support the movie soundtrack industry.
Malcolm, good luck following that up. What are your thoughts on the full soundtrack now getting released?
I mean, like, I love the Last Jedi soundtrack. I mean, I'm going to get it as soon as I can. And the music is just so incredible. I mean, John Williams has always been the signature tune for Star Wars. And I mean, and he's like, even with the upcoming Solo movie, he's doing the Han Solo theme, which he's never had a standalone theme for before until Solo, and that is going to be incredible. That finally all major characters are going to have their own themes eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. and I actually do have the full soundtrack now on. I just bought it the other day. I'm just waiting for it to ship, and I can't wait to listen to the soundtrack because oh my god, yes, you can make the joke of, oh, it's just the Force theme for 2.5 hours, which first off, piss off.
Force theme is amazing.
And don't get me wrong, yeah, the Force theme is amazing, but there's more to the soundtrack than just that great theme. Because hell, one of my favorite pieces in this movie is named after one of the dumbest lines in the film. It's called Chrome Dome. It's the music that plays when Finn is going up against Phasma, and as soon as those drums kick in, oh,
dude, I'm sorry. I said this to these guys as well. Listening to the Canto Bite music, I was able to visualize a better Canto Bite than I saw in the film. Yeah, that's the power of John Williams.
Exactly, and that's what Williams has always been able to do. Even if you go back to the prequels, which, yes, Matt and I will defend those movies, but even the most hardcore haters have to admit those songs are amazing.
Duel of Fates,
Battle of the Heroes, Across the Stars.
I'll beat that guy. Yeah, Across the Stars. Attack on the Temple.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually kind of like it more than Han Leia's theme.
Dude, I can understand that.
Don't kill me. All right, so now let's move on to the last actual news story before we get into the history lesson, and this is actually really cool. It's kind of cool. Donald Glover recently sat down with Deadline, and they actually asked him about the transition of working with Lord and Miller to working with Ron Howard, and he basically actually gave a really interesting description of what that process was like, and it actually wasn't as bad as we're all assuming it was. Because, of course, as we keep reading more and more about the controversy surrounding the film, we keep thinking that, like, oh, it was, terrible and the actors didn't get along. It's like, no, they, according to him, he just came right in. The actors were more than happy to have him on board. And what this shows me is that a lot of stuff did go wrong with the production. There's no getting around that. But it does also show me that what Ron Howard, being the consummate professional that he is, he was able to just come in, and he was able to shepherd this project to where it needed to get to. And what was actually kind of cool was Donald Glover describing that essentially it was a nice change of pace for him as an actor, because most of his projects that he does, he's doing a lot of music for, or he's being involved with the writing or whatever, this and that. And I'm just like, you know what? That's cool. Now I'm actually looking forward to seeing how relaxed you actually were when I see you play Lando Calrissian. Malcolm, are you in a similar position with me on that? Like, do you think this is really cool, or do you think this is kind of a nothing story for a movie you're not even excited about?
Well, I mean, it kind of lessens my fears about Solo a little bit, because I mean, it was one of those things, like, I was like, oh, the change is going to completely change the movie. It's going to be completely different to what I imagined it would have been. But I mean, as Donald says, like, it's not going to be as different as we think, because I mean, it's just one of those things, like, the changeover happened smoothly, like, nothing much changed. And I mean, I don't know what this movie is going to be like.
Nobody does.
I mean, especially with the fact the acting coach for Alden Ehrenreich and all that is like, I'm just still nervous about it, but I'm still going to go see it no matter what anyway.
Matt, you have been fairly notorious for your thoughts on the Solo film, but does this news somewhat ease your fear about it, or does it just do nothing for you?
Listen, my things against the Solo movie actually have had nothing to do with the behind the scenes stuff, because you know what? I read the reports. I read stuff from Kathleen Kennedy. I went, I understand. Lauren Miller kind of started off, they were like, we're on this page, and then Lucasfilm kind of went, you kind of weren't on our same page. They brought in Ron Howard, who's a director who I like a lot of his films. I think he's a really good director. I thought, that's great. My stuff with Han Solo is not for this. It's for another time. Probably, we can talk about closer when we get the film, or you can tweet and get really mad at me. This, I do like this because I feel like there's been this sort of, I don't want to say it's false reporting, but that has been a lot of reporting, but there's kind of been this aura around this production of like, one day Lauren Miller were on set, and the next day the cast showed up, and Ron Howard is your director. Like, and that's not true. Ron Howard was brought in, and he met with the cast, and he, being a good seasoned director, was able to make. You gotta give Ron Howard credit for however this film ends up. He was kind of backed into a corner because there was the reports of what happened with Lauren Miller and his hiring were everywhere. This was not sealed well, and that's the day and age we live in with movie news. I understand that, but this doesn't ease my, because I never had that. I was like, but I do like that Donald Glover came out and said it, because now at least it's like Donald Glover has said it was smooth. It was a smooth transition for all of us. It worked well, which I think is an important thing, especially right now where the general public is with the Solo film. I think quotes like that coming out are a good thing.
Absolutely, and like I said, it's nice to see that for him as an actor, this is a nice change of pace, because take something like Atlanta, where obviously, he
does a lot.
He does a lot on that show, but which, yes, controversial opinion. I am looking forward to this movie, maybe a little more than I should, but it's mostly just because I'm a Star Wars geek. Okay. You slap the word Star Wars on it, I'm gonna want to watch it. So sorry, guys, but
that's fair enough. Haha, you're so funny, Mark.
You're so funny. But now we're gonna move on.
He should have been the director.
Now we're. Oh God, no. No. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the show has been derailed. But let's move on to the history lesson of the show, where now I'm going to go through basically all the events that happened this week. If there's an important birthday I have to bring up, then I'm going to bring it up. And speaking of birthdays, we actually have two really big ones that happened this week. First one. It is the 69th birthday of one Mr. Lawrence Kasdan, the man who brought us the screenplays to Star Wars Episode V, The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode VI, Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, and, of course, Solo, A Star Wars Story. Lawrence, even outside of your Star Wars work, you have done some of my favorite films of all time, including The Big Chill, and your son Jake also brought one of my favorite films, which is Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. And a lot of your writing and directing approaches have left a big imprint on me. So thank you, sir. Whoever wants to maybe, kiss his ass as much as I do.
Oh, I could do nothing but kiss Lawrence Kasdan's ass, because I think I'm not sure if I've ever said it, because I've never, but I think in a way Lawrence Kasdan is probably my favorite screenplay writer, because my two favorite films of all time are The Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark, both screenplays by him. He's just one of these guys who just gets characters, and he gets setting up scenarios and putting, and I mean, you see that beyond Star Wars and Indiana Jones. You see that in movies like The Big Chill, where you set up a scenario and he's able to put characters into that scenario, make it really interesting, make the dialogue very quick and very understandable for an audience. And this is a guy who was writing a movie about a bunch of people a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. an archaeologist in the 30s and a group of mourning friends in the 80s. Like, that's pretty impressive. Because the industry's way it, there are some people who they can just write about characters in Galaxy Far Far Away, or an archaeologist in the 30s, or moping friend, not moping, I apologize, big chill cast, in the 80s, he was able to do all of them, and all extremely well. And yeah, sure, some person in the comments is going to be like, but he also wrote this. Well, you know what? Sometimes you just have to work, and you're not always operating at 100.
Yeah, Dreamcatcher.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, sometimes, you know what? Lights aren't going to keep themselves on. All right.
Exactly. Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, like, Lance Kasdan is, like, by far one of my favourite screenwriters out there. Like, and I mean, yeah, like, you're going to have the people talk about his bad moves as well. But I mean, the thing is, like, we don't know what the script was before the actors started performing it. Like, the fault is not always in the dialogue; it's how actors personalize the dialogue themselves. I mean, like yes, there are some scripts out there that are generally so bad that it is definitely the screenwriter's fault. But I mean, Lawrence Kasdan turning everyone's favorite number is by far the coolest screenwriter out there. So yeah, that everyone, you pretty much seem to forget what I wanted to say. So
yeah, exactly. And then we have another big birthday, and I will give you just a little hint as to who that is.
No, I am your father.
James Earl Jones turns 87 this week, and what do you say about the guy who brought the voice of one of the best villains of all time? It's James Earl Jones. James, I'm sure you'll never see this, but hey, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done to help bring Darth Vader to life, whether it was in A New Hope, Empire, Jedi, Sith, Rebels, the holiday special, for God's sake. But
it's not canon.
But hey, he was still in it. So, James from the Take 3 Productions crew, happy birthday. Malcolm.
yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, James Earl Jones is probably one of the greatest voiceover artists out there. Like, because I mean, like, he was apart from Darth Vader, he was also Mufasa in The Lion King. Like, another really iconic voice of his that is out there. And I mean, he's done so much incredible stuff that I can't possibly list off his whole filmography at all. But yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, there's not really much else you could say about him.
True. Matt.
I guess all I can say is, why didn't you come knock on my door? I would have got it for you. I love Sandlot, Field of Dreams. He's great in baseball movies as well.
Yes.
Not just a villain. People are, and I love him as Vader. Vader is my favorite villain of all time, but he's also one of the sweetest guys in film as well. I'm sorry, Field of Dreams. I love him.
Oh hell, and he was amazing in Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, Patriot Games. He's fantastic in the Jack Ryan series. He's just one of these guys who is just a great, well-rounded actor who can do a lot, and I mean, who will go down with one of the most recognizable voice. I mean, you gotta give credit that kids in 1977 knew who James Earl Jones was just from his voice. Kids in 2018 still know who James Earl Jones is from his voice. I mean, I think that's the type of thing actors wish for, and he's got it. So yeah, I love James Earl Jones. Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Oh my God.
If you don't, you're probably David Prowse because they didn't use your voice.
No, if you're David Prowse, you are grateful they didn't use your voice.
Commander, tear this ship apart until you find those plans and bring me the passengers. I want them alive.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of 87, we actually have two events that happened this week back in 1987. The first one, some of you guys maybe remember, in Return of the Jedi, we met this little race of creatures called the Ewoks. They were so popular that they got two, count them, two movies.
Great films. Amazing. Need to be canon, Pablo.
Sure. But they also got an animated cartoon, which was miles better than the movies. That's all I'll say about that. Kearns, you want to fight?
Yeah, I want to fight.
Okay. But so this week back in 1987, I actually saw the ending of the show, Ewoks, which followed the adventures of Wicket, who was voiced by Warwick Davis, awesome enough. Also, I forgot what the name of his lady friend is. I'm blanking, but what was it was basically just a bunch of the Ewoks going on little adventures with wizards and creatures and all kinds of crazy stuff that happened. But in this last episode, we're introduced to the Empire, and this is them basically setting up the events of Return of the Jedi, which was actually kind of cool. I mean, the episode itself is fine, but the fact that a lot of people who worked on this show went on to do so much more. Hell, Paul Dini from the Batman the Animated Series did a complete arc on this show called The Haunted Village, and you know what? I'll be honest, it's not bad. It's not bad. But Malcolm, what are your thoughts on Ewoks coming to a close this week back in 1987?
I actually have never seen an episode. It's something that I will get on to at some stage, because I was only 2 at that time. So,
well, I was going to say, you were actually around then. We weren't.
But yeah, I mean, it coming to a close, for kids, it might have been devastating with one of their favorite shows was finishing, and and the fact they got Warwick Davis back to voice Wicket was awesome enough. I mean, all I want to know now is when they're going to do a Porgs animated show.
Oh, I don't think they do.
Now I have to censor that out.
I'm just gonna say this, Malcolm. I don't think any kids were sad if you look at the ratings for this show. I don't think really a lot of kids watching it. But hey, listen.
Well, I was going to say,
when I was a kid.
Well, it's funny to say that though, because some of our favorite content creators actually got introduced to Star Wars through the Ewoks cartoon.
That's fair enough for people like Doug Walker. That was your introduction. That's fine. It wasn't mine, and I'm glad it wasn't mine. But you know what? When I was a kid and I went to Blockbuster with my family, there was a DVD with 2 of the arcs, so it was 2 hours of the Ewok show, and you know what? Yeah, I rented it and I watched it, and I liked it because it had Star Wars slapped onto it. So I've gone back and I still own the DVD for the Droids one, and I go, this is
the Pirates of the Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah!
This is what they were doing in the 80s. I mean, can we just say this? You're they got Warwick Davis back. Let's not forget, he was 13 in the 80s when they did this. Probably was fairly easy for them to get him back. This isn't like they got James Earl Jones or something. And Mr. Davis, huge fan of yours, would love to meet you, but hey, when I was 13, I'm pretty certain if they were you want to be on Ewoks? I'd be sure. I probably would say that now. If they were you want to be on the Porg show? I'd be what's up? I'll be on. I'll be your Porg.
Where's the Where's the Emmys?
Where's the freaking Emmy? I'll do it as my team action character from the reactions. I'm going to be the cool Porg. The shades and a little suit with a tie. I love this.
Yes.
I love this. Porg Army. Where's the lightsaber?
You are so telling Ben and Andrew this. But
Yeah.
let's move
I
on to
will
what
send
else
Ben and
happened.
Andrew this episode.
What else happened this week back in 1987? Star Tours open up at Disneyland, which sadly I've never been on. But let me ask someone who was on it. Matt, what did I miss?
Back in 2005, I'm in third grade, and my family went on a trip to California. This was the first time I've ever been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World, but never Disneyland. And we went to, all the parks, and we went to Tomorrowland. And there we walked, and we saw a sign that said, Star Tours. George Lucas and Disney presents. And I went, what? And we stood on the line, and you have to remember, I am a kid who, third grade, Revenge of the Sith was either coming out or just come out. So, Star Wars was, at its peak of popularity for my childhood. So, seeing that there was a ride, I didn't know it was opened in the 80s. I was like, whoa, what? Star Wars? And it was the first canonical appearance of a captain named Rex, actually, because the captain of the ship was named Captain Rex. I know because in my closet, I still own the toy for the Star Tours ship, and it still has sounds, and one of the sounds says, "This is Captain Rex from the cockpit." And it was this really cool Disney animatronics with droids, and you flew through the Death Star, and you went on the trench run with the rebels, and it was an amazing ride that I loved. They shut it down in 2010, and they have now since replaced it with Star Tours 2, which I have not been able to ride on yet. But the original, I'm always going to remember that experience riding it. It's one of those memories I just remember walking into Tomorrowland and seeing that and going, "Oh my god!"
I swear you totally didn't just make my jaw drop a little bit. Malcolm, you hear that story? Do you wish you lived over here now, or are you still happy being a New Zealander?
I've always wished I've lived in America so I can be able to go to places like Disneyland, Disney World easily without having to spend thousands of dollars just to fly over for a week. I mean, there's so much I want to do over in America. It is still one of my goals to make it over there. But yeah, someday I'll get to Disneyland, maybe even before when the opening of the Star Wars theme park opens. So.
Awesome. Now let's move on to the next part of the history lesson. Like I said, guys, a lot happened this week, and this is something that's actually really important to the saga. So this week back in 1977, funny enough, right before Star Wars comes out, actor Mark Hamill gets in a serious car accident and requires facial reconstruction surgery, which led to the writing of the Wampa attack in Empire Strikes Back. Now, there has been a little bit of mixed reports.
He said, she said.
A little bit he said, she said on the motivation behind the Wampa attack, but the fact has always been there. Mark Hamill was in a serious accident, and facial reconstruction surgery was required. So, but again, most reports have confirmed that this is essentially what happened and why it happened and why we got the Wampa scene later on. Mm-hmm. Malcolm, you hear about this, and do you think it was a really kind of what's your response to hearing that Hamill's injury is why they wrote in the Wampa attack?
Well, I mean, it's not the first time that an accident on film has caused some script changes in any movies. I mean, but I mean, it makes sense that if he doesn't look like the way he did in Star Wars, that of course they're going to write some sort of scene to explain why he looks different in later on in Empire. So I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, fair enough. And Kearns, hearing that this would happen to Mark Hamill, does that just add on more to why Luke Skywalker is your favorite character of all time, or does that?
Well, I mean, No, it's just, I've already known about this, of course, because I'm such a Mark Hamill fan. Of course, I read up on this stuff, but it's it's these crazy things that, that's just terrible that happened to him. And it also, for anyone who has seen the holiday special, for those of you, that explains why a lot of jokes is his name in that special is eyeliner Skywalker, or Luke Sky eyeliner. The reason why he has a lot of makeup on is because he had just been through that horrible car accident. To be, not to get too dark for a minute, but I'm thankful for Mark that it wasn't anything super serious, because I could not imagine Empire Strikes Back being as good as it was if we got another actor playing Luke Skywalker in that role. So I'll take them writing the Wampa attack, which is one of the best scenes in Star Wars, over inserts. We were talking about Patrick Swayze as Luke Skywalker in Empire, some other 80s star or something, not to say they would have done that, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Okay. Let's move on.
It was the first I was trying to think of some guy from the 80s, and we had talked about him earlier.
And to be fair, everybody, before we started rolling, Kearns and I were on a Swayze debate, which
we're not a debate. We were more just talking about The Outsiders.
That's true, and we were having a good cry over it. So come at me.
Coming at you on Knights of the Outsiders podcast next.
Yes. And speaking of, I love how you're referring to. Well, hold on, no, because you were mentioning why, in speaking of specials.
Okay.
Our last piece of the history lesson is this week, back in 1980, to promote The Empire Strikes Back. Mark Hamill, Peter Mayhew, and Anthony Daniels all appeared on The Muppet Show. Yay! And it was amazing. Oh my god! Which that probably is one of my favorite episodes of the Muppet Show. Like, I mean, you have.
It is my favorite episode of the Muppet Show. It is hands down my favorite episode. See,
the Buddy Rich beats it by that much, but that's because I'm a huge Buddy Rich fan, and obviously as a drummer, I gotta appreciate that. But no, I mean, holy shit, you have what is one of my favorite running gags, which is Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker both appear on the show, and they're cousins.
I thought you want to talk about running jokes. Where's your tailor? I love this outfit.
Yes. And of course, then they all get together for a big number at the end, and then you actually see Luke Skywalker and Mark Hamill in the same room, and then it's like,
well, no, I'm sorry, no, because the great thing is they're all doing a big song number, and Kermit comes up to Luke, and he's like, something like, Luke, you want to sing? He's like, no, not me. I'll go get my cousin. Then Mark Hamill comes out. Yeah, I love it. This episode is my favorite. I'm a big Muppet fan, and I remember when I was a kid, and I saw, again, Blockbuster. Ask your parents, kids, what Blockbuster is. I rented, it was like Best of the Muppet, because season 4, to my knowledge, has never been released, which annoys me to no end, as well as the other seasons. But it was like Best of, and this episode was on there. I remember as a kid, it was like watching all of them, and then because the episode opens up with the gargling Gershwin is going to be the guest, and then Luke Skywalker, R2, and 3PO bust through the door, and I remember as a kid going, "What? What's colliding?" Also, it's just funny to think, over nearly 40 years later, Disney owns both of them. So we could see this team up happen again.
I was gonna say, can we create a little crossover action, Disney? Please,
crossover?
Please.
Mark Hamill, I think,
will
is
make me
still
so happy.
up for it. I think Mark Hamill is so. I mean, yeah, my favorite skate is still Fozzie. Is such a big Mark Hamill fan. Going up to Luke Skywalker. Oh, you're Mark Hamill. No, he's my cousin. Let me go get him. And just the exchange between Luke and Kermit when Luke is like, "I'm sorry, we don't want to be stuck here on some third-rate variety show. Kermit just looks at him. Second-rate variety show.
Yes.
Just if you have not seen this episode, go find it on iTunes or YouTube or somewhere. It is just so funny. It is so great.
Now, Malcolm, I do have to ask. So
Follow that.
well, no, not. Well, okay. So when we say it like that, jerk. Awesome.
I'm not trying to be mean.
But you know, are you familiar with this episode? You know, tell me a little bit about it for you.
I'm familiar with like bits and pieces of it. I've seen clips on various like top 10 Muppet moments on Watch Mojo videos, but I mean it's like 1980 is like cross promotion is big now, and it's like and it shows that the cross promotion has always been big. Like whenever if someone's got something to promote coming up, of course, on various shows like Saturday Night Live, whether it's Muppets and all that, they're going to get stars from that show to try and do some cross-promotion type thing on it. So, I mean, it's one of those things that does happen and always has happened a lot in Muppets, especially anyway. So, yeah, I don't really have much to add about that.
No, and exactly, and
a lot of people I'm sorry, but for those people who maybe only know the Muppets from the movies, the Muppet Show at one time was a big promotion tool. A lot of big stars, movies, television, music would go on the Muppet Show when they were promoting something, you know, a new film, a new album. They used the Muppet Show as a huge show.
Two big examples. Going back to Buddy Rich, he was on there to promote a big record he had just put out, and Johnny Cash actually came on the Muppet Show to, funny enough, sing the song Jackson with Miss Piggy, which is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But no, like it's just an amazing episode, and
my head is just going through all the different sketches. Miss Piggy comes out as Princess Leia.
And then
I guess this captor must be this prisoner as well. Listen to me, Blondie. You go with this or I'll cut your throat.
Look at the princess! Yeah, no, like just oh my god,
so many great sketches.
So many great sketches. But sadly, this brings a close to the history lesson, which, like I said, there was a lot that happened this week, and I'm really glad that I, actually take my time and do research on this stuff, because some of this I genuinely didn't know. So, hey, that's awesome. We had a couple of birthdays, we had a couple of really big events, and now it's time for my favorite part of this show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Once More with Feeling. The part of the show where we take a piece of Star Wars, whether it's from a movie, a TV show, a game, a comic book, a novel, and we do a scene. We do it one time serious, and then one time with a gimmick of our choosing. And because it's Malcolm's first time on the show, I invited him to pick the scene, and he picked a scene from Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens. We actually haven't done this movie yet, so hey, another one to cross off the list. And the scene is right after Finn and Rey escape from Jakku. Something's gone wrong. She has to fix something. Can they do it in time? Can we figure out where we're going to in time? Is BB-8 going to go along with Finn's lie that he's not part of the Resistance?
What?
Well, let's have some fun. So, so the parts in this scene are Rey, BB-8, and Finn. And sorry, gentlemen, I am taking the role of BB-8.
I'll take Rey. I'll let you do a little British accent. Malcolm, you have to do an American accent as Finn.
Oh God, this is gonna be interesting.
If John Boyega could do it, you could do it.
Ooh, boy.
Is that way?
But all right, so let's give this a go. Rey, when you are ready.
I'm always starting these Once More feelings, aren't I? It's the motivator. Grab the hair. Grab the Harris wrench. Check in there.
How bad is it?
If we want to live, not good.
They're hunting for us now, and we gotta get out of the system.
BB-8 said the location of the resistance bases need to know. If I'm taking you there, I need to know.
This? You gotta tell us who your base is.
Beep, 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 beep.
I don't speak that. Between us, I'm not with the resistance, okay? I'm just trying to get away from the First Order. But you tell us where the base is, I'll get you there first, deal? Droid, please.
Pilot driver, hurry. So where's your base?
Go on, BB-8, tell her. Please.
Beep, 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 beep.
The Alenium system?
Yeah, the Alenian system. That's the one. Get us there as fast as you can.
I'll drop you two off at Pernal Terminal. I need the bonding tape. Hurry.
What about you?
I've got to get back to Jakku.
Back to Jakku? Why does everyone want to go back to Jakku?
That's not the one. No, no, no. The one I'm pointing to. No. If we don't patch this up, the potion tank will overflow and flood the ship with poisonous gas.
This?
Yes.
Ray, you're a pilot. So you can fly anywhere. Why go back? Got a family? Got a boyfriend? Good boyfriend?
Know your business. That's why.
I love that scene. I love that scene.
That's a great scene when Daisy Ridley and John Mayer. Us?
You got a boyfriend? Cute
I was
boyfriend?
something else.
None of your boyfriend. None of your business. That's why. All right. So we did that scene once, but now it's time to do that scene once more with feeling. So now it's time to come up with some fun gimmicks. The problem is for me. What can I do to make a droid sound?
Do it as walking. Beep, 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 beep.
I suppose I can always go back to an old favorite.
I can tell you, we're in the Alenium system, but you're a lion. Sack of shit. Thin. I think I'm going to go back to a favorite from a live show that someone on this show attempted to do. It's Scott freaking Mance.
Malcolm, good luck finding a gimmick. you got some competition here, man. You got Walken and Mance. A dangerous combination.
Well, I mean, I've been practicing Macho Man Randy Savage, so I'm going to attempt that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Reggie. Oh, this is gonna be freaking amazing. This is gonna be like when Picard met Kirk in Star Trek Generations, which came out in 1996.
94.
Yeah, that's what I said.
We're never gonna get through this segment.
Nope.
All right, Ray Mance, when you are ready.
All right. This is gonna kill my voice, but it's the motivator. Grab me the Harris Ranch. Check in there.
Oh, yeah. How bad is it?
If we want to live, not good.
They are hunting for Macho Man now, and Macho Man gotta get out of the system.
BB-8 said the location of the resistance bases need to know. If I am taking you there, I need to know.
This. You gotta tell Macho Man where your base is.
Babe.
Macho Man, don't speak that. Between us, I'm not with the resistance, okay? I'm just trying to get away from the First Order. But you gotta tell Macho Man where the base is. I'll get you there first. Oh, yeah?
What the hell are you talking about?
Droid, please.
Pilot driver, hurry! So where's your base?
Go on, BB-8. Tell Macho Man.
I don't know to trust you.
please?
Babe.
The Alumnium system?
Oh yeah, the Alumnium system. That's the one. Get us there as fast as you can.
I'll drop you two off at the Perno terminal. I need the bonding tape. Hurry!
Oh yeah, what about you?
I've got to get back to Jakku.
Back to... Why does everyone want to go back to Jakku?
That's not the one. No, the one I'm pointing to. The one that was released in 1987. No, if we don't patch this up, we're not going to be back in time for fandom's event of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. The corrosive waste will overflow, and the ship will be flooded with poison gas.
This?
Yes!
Oh yeah, right, you're a pilot. You can fly anywhere. Why go back? Got a family? Got a boyfriend? Good boyfriend?
None of your business, that's why!
Oh, God. That happened, ladies and gentlemen. That just happened. I'm so glad we have this at the end of the show because, trust me, there is not a segment that could top this.
How do you follow that segment?
No, you don't. You close out the show. That's how you do it. So, Malcolm, welcome to your first episode of Nights of the Podcast, and where can the good folks find you online?
You can find me on YouTube at Malcolm Lay. I'm on various videos of Take 3. I'm on Twitter and Letterboxd at Malachor, and I'm on Facebook at Malcolm Gotti Lay, and you can also find me competing in trivia matches on Worldwide Games Network.
And Matt Rendar, where can the good folks find you online?
You guys, as always, you can complain to me about the fact that I'm not overexcited for the Solo movie at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter, or you can comment it on one of my YouTube videos at MattMovies611, and you can find me hosting the movie.
Oh,
Not really the movie fandom show, but currently Second Look, which premieres the first Monday of February. Oh my god! I also host Wrestling on Russell, the Kurt Russell fan podcast. I also, if you want to pay me to do Scott Mans for a video or something, I need the money, so you can message me on various platforms, and I'll probably do it for you.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Yeah, that
freaking Mance.
That guy.
I took the mantle back from this show from a couple of episodes ago.
Well, I'm sorry that I had a little more enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm? Why does everybody think I'm just a yelling machine? Where you going, Sasha?
And you guys can find me on Twitter at my band Last Shot Redemption at LSAR Band MN. You guys can follow Take 3 Productions on Twitter and Instagram at Take 3 Trivia. You guys can also find me over on our sister channel, the Worldwide Movie Games Network, and you can follow that on Twitter at WWMGN Take 3, where, guess what, guys? Jacob and I make our team debut as Team Take 3. Team Oncoming Storm, prepare yourselves for annihilation. But until then, you guys can find me on Stardust and Letterboxd at Chris Take 3, and of course, you can find me right here hosting Nights of the Podcast for my great panel of Malcolm Lay and Matthew Kearns. I'm Chris Skywalker Dohmen, and may the Force be with you always.